Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this, the grand finals of the NJCAAE Overwatch tournament. I'm Big Hungry Phil. Joining me today to help bring you the action is LaFon. We've got the grand finals coming up. What does that look like for our viewers?
Well, I mean, it's going to be exciting Overwatch. First of all, we can put that at rest immediately, but we can talk, of course, about our two teams that we have ahead of us in the Flash Blinn College versus BSC as well. Bryant-Stratton College here in the opposition to them. So definitely exciting stuff on the table here, Phil, as it were. And I mean, what better way to send off Overwatch 1 than some fantastic collegiate action than we have right here? So definitely some exciting stuff. And I mean, we got to talk about how these teams got here.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been a relatively long season for these two teams. I believe it's 9 games total across the course of the season, and a little bit of a. I don't want to call this a mismatch because you can drop a map, you can drop a couple of maps, you can drop a series. It's not a massive indicator of the relative strength, but we do have BSC, that's Bryant-Stratton College, coming in with a 9-0 record, and Blinn Buccaneers losing one match to Westchester, coming in with an 8-1 record. Difficult for us coming in late into this tournament as we are LaFon to give like proper commentary as to the relative strength of Westchester and Blinn and BSC. But it does sort of start to lean you towards there being a favorite here a little bit, right?
Yeah, and I mean, we can also talk about that Westchester game because BSC ended up winning over Westchester in a 3-2 fashion. So if we're caught, you know, in the law of circular analysis, if you will, and you can make all the jokes you want to about that, but you certainly have to give a credit to BSC as a result for their flawless perspective here. Now, granted, that means that BSC is the favorite coming into the series, and that means that, you know, all eyes are on them as a result. And, you know, that pressure could come into the fore just a little bit as we get set to get into the game early on. We're going to start, as we always do, on Control, and our first map will be Lijiang Tower in that game mode type. So, Phil, you and I know just how popular that is.
I know, LaFon, the way you were queuing that up, I thought you were going to say, we're going to start, as we always do, on Lijiang Tower, which, frankly, feels about right some days in terms of map pick. It's right up there with King's Row for, feels like at the very least, every other game I cast. But yeah, starting on Control gives us a good measure of the two teams and their specific approaches. There's some nice, fairly repeatable things about Lijiang, given where we are with the meta, that we can expect to see across those 3 submaps, if indeed we do go to all 3, which should give us a nice read on the style and the pace and the level of Overwatch these two teams are playing.
Yeah, and just a reminder for our viewers who have no doubt been enthused with the beta as it has been kind of running this entire week. A reminder of what we can expect meta-wise from these squads, right? Definitely a very different game than the sequel, as we do have the 6v6, but Rush is really good still. Obviously, the Reinhardt-based compositions around the Lucio, so very high high aggression. You can also expect to see a lot of dive as you get to more open map types, and if required, bunker or the double shield can come to the fore as well. So 3 very stylistically different yet effective compositions. That being said, we are underway with the Rush compositions, and both Jinja and Miro will meet on the Reinhardts in the head-to-head.
Yeah, no Symmetras here, so even Stevens reading right in the middle of this high ground here. Miro with the hack has to back out a little bit here, but some early progress on the point gain for Bryant-Stratton College. Blinn College still up on the high ground for now, running this zombie composition, and now they've got to move it into the spam from Narwhal, who will very quickly have this Riptire online, and good grief, Ginger is taking a world of damage here. It's taking everything the sports can throw at them. Keep them alive through this one, has to back away behind the shield. There's the D-Make, out comes the Riptire, going to try. Oh, didn't even need to wait out the EMO, dodges it nicely, finds two. Bryant and Stratton coming in strong from the gate.
And even though the 2 DPS aren't taken out, it's at the cost of the remaining members of their team. So Blinn College will have a small consolation there. And I have to highlight the fact that Blinn College doesn't actually earn a whole lot towards their effective resources. You know, we talked about Narwhal getting the Riptire online. Slater has Dragon Strike as well. And Miro not too far away from the Earth Shatter. So Blinn College really only working with Jinja's ultimate here as they try and set up the right.
We'll have that now, but out comes the Dragon, and Bryant-Stratton caught in the rotation. Shatter out, but Omenkai down already in the charge connect, putting Ginger back in the spawn queue, and Bryant-Stratton College, because you like, win that one out in Kilburn.
Yeah, Jinja actually isolates 2 players of that Shatter. Unfortunately, as they try to go for the follow-up damage, it's Miro standing tall and saying, My Shatter is just a little bit better. Turtle's going to give up any progress they had made towards the EMP2 halfway through this round as they're going to switch over to the May, trying to play up for that Blizzard through the walls. And Bryant-Stratton, I mean, really unassailed. They have the Gravitic Flux, they have the Nano Boost, and I mean, Narwhal building ever closer to a second Riptire of the round.
Yeah, there's a lot of coping tools here, and straight out the gate is the Gravitic Flux. Nobody there to shut that down, so damage is going to kills. If they can find a way to weather through this, they would at least come out with some good support for charge. But Bryant-Stratton just have them red here at every turn. 2 fights in a row where Bryant-Stratton College die as a unit.
Yeah, and I mean, now we're in last fight, and you have to go through the Riptire. Miro's going to have another Earth Shatter in about 15%, and this is just going from bad to worse. Blinn College look to be iced out here in the final stages of this round.
Good opening with the amplification matrix. Set's able to buy some space for Bryant-Stratton to get around the side. Trying it out from Narwhal, doesn't find anything this time. Shattered down from Miro, 3 on the ground. The Fire Strike finds 2, and not even a chance to touch here for Blinn College.
And that means that's 100-0, Phil, as we get a clean sweep on round number 1. And I mean, Bryant-Stratton, they're not really playing, you know, no offense to the Bryant-Stratton players, but they're not really playing anything particularly, you know, advantageous to their style. They're not, you know, massively diffing in terms of mechanics or anything like that. It's just winning fights cleanly by having their ultimate rotations online earlier, and they have, as a result, kind of confirmed a snowball to their favor. So for Blinn College, you cannot be giving away fights where you realistically should be generating resources, and Bryant-Stratton, as a result, have an early lead, and honestly, the mental game is now back in their court.
It is, and coming out with another weird tank lineup here, we've got the Winston Wrecking Ball from Bryant-Stratton College. So they may be second to the point here, as Blinn College will be out with the TP, but good grief, they've got a lot of dive potential, a lot of damage potential, particularly with Slater piloting it over the window, didn't even look at Turtles, and Turtles still made to suffer with the concussive blast. Mortality field down. You see the Reinhardt get up close and personal and deal with Guts, but Slater is just uncontested. I mean, you've already really got Crazy Hobo to deal with the Pharah here, and it's not going to be enough at this rate.
Yeah, I mean, Bryant-Stratton have both the Air Pharah and the Ground Pharah in Narwhal on the Junkrat Part 2. And even as Turtles switches over to the Soldier, can't quite get the clean elimination, gets traded away. So yeah, Blinn College trying to play some, you know, trying to change out the looks, I should say, as they go over to what is essentially this hyper-aggressive composition with the Moira, but they're not going in as a unit, and as a result, a little bit scattered is going to give Slater a lot of opportunities to find value.
Of course, Bryant-Stratton College putting out a web of damage and distractions here, but so far, we find one initial break in that web as the Helix Rocket connects and takes Miro, not that Miro, no, out of the fight, giving the Blinn College a momentary advantage here. Leveled out was the Rocket Connect. Narwhal closing in on having another Riptire, and a tradie fight so far, but Slater pulls the pin on the barrage, finds one with the barrage, one with the primary, and it's not good enough here for Crazy Hobo, who is out of the mech, out of luck, and back to spawn. Yes, you've got somebody from Blinn College tagging on point, but it just doesn't matter.
Actually, the big highlight there for me is Set staying alive as long as they did, right? Getting juggled by the dive of the Winston Tracer, still manages to survive long enough to get to the health pack, and then Injustice is there for the remaining support. Support stay alive long enough, and the heals are there just to give time for Bryant-Stratton to get back in position for Slater to pop off. Here's that Nano to be applied to, I think, Miro, and the Primal Rage right off the back of it.
Yeah, looks like it. Has 1 kill already for that. Now out of the Primal Rage and being bullied by Miro here. That's both supports down. Turtles finds 1, but the real show was in the back passage there with the Winston going absolutely ham, and Bryant-Stratton College, every fight in a row they've lost somebody, but every fight in a row they have won the fights.
Yeah, and I think the big thing here is, like, Blinn College does not really have to worry about damage mitigation on the opposite end. OBL's on the Wrecking Ball, and now back in the respawn queue. That being said, the damage needs to stick a little bit more thoroughly. You can't get marked by the tanks this easily. Bryant-Stratton College doing a great job of shutting down this DPS of Blinn College.
Great marking from Miro, weathers the storm of the force bomb momentarily, but now an opening, a chink in the armor as it were, for Blinn College as they start to find some kills for the first time this map. That's a hell of a go at a race here. Crazy Hobo tags down, interrupts that, and I don't think it was going to go much further here for Injustice and Blinn College, finally, with some percentage on the board.
Yeah, our first percentage of the map, actually, as we're nearly towards the end of it. Bryant-Stratton commit a lot to that engagement, and Narwhal are going to go over to their second pick of their hero pool, which is the Torbjorn. So Definitely an,
That's a
I mean,
good
self-destruct
initiation.
top.
Nice, easy 2k here from the self-destruct. And sure, if you're Bryant-Stratton, you might want to keep it in a little while longer, generate some ult charge, but that's not a fight you're winning. Slater staying in there a really long time, eventually take themselves out with their own rocket, and here's the reset for Bryant-Stratton.
The big curiosity there is the coalescence being used by College
Yeah.
Lone at the end. I mean, fight was already over. It was 2 eliminations with a self-destruct, but, you know, better to confirm the fight than to lose it. Now, Bryant-Stratton don't have to worry about too much beyond the tactical visor and the sound barrier here in this next round, or in this next fight, I should say. Bryant-Stratton only working with the Nano Boost and the Wrecking Ball.
Yeah, nice deploy of the minefield there. 1-for-1 trade with Set and Omakai going down. Slater playing right up in the hitbox there with Ginger. Primal Rage out from Mira. Plenty of chance to juggle over the edge and up the side here. Turtles down, not to juggle, but to the pure punching power of the fist. Deals with Mira. Force bomb out here. No kills confirmed on that one. Set hopping around on point. Sound barrier out from Omakai here, and Blinn College doing everything into the middle here to try and generate some sort of successful flower, but it's not working out. Bryant-Stratton College coming out big with the kills here. Looks like they're getting set for a flip. Turtles will have the tactical visor, but there's nowhere to put it and no HP to do anything with it. Last tag in here from Ginger, but again, just the weight of bodies on the point here from Bryant-Stratton mean that there's not a lot can happen there, and that is the biggest lock on a door I have ever seen. The mines and the molten core here just mean that Blinn College not able to touch. 80%, pretty good showing on this second sub-map. Bryant-Stratton come out to win.
And I will say, don't let the percentage necessarily fool you if you're viewing at home. Yes, it was 80%, but especially on control, one fight can really, you know, snowball over if you let time sort of escape you, and that's exactly what happens. Here's that shatter that, through a miracle, Miro dodges, but then pays quite heavily in return. So that is an unfortunate situation for Blinn College, but BSC make the most of it. And now, I mean, up 1-0 in our series here is BSC, as they made round 1 look easy. Round 2, as you said, a little bit of contest, but overall, firmly in BSC's favor as well.
It did seem to me that Blinn College, when they had the point, they needed to commit quite a few more resources generally to hold onto it, other than maybe 1 or 2 aborted fights as BSC came in. And it makes me worry for the rest of their tournament life here, because you need a good ult rotation, the kind of ult rotation that we saw coming out from BSC on their hold and control center, like studied, disciplined, with a plan in mind for each one of those ultimates.
Yeah, and I mean, that's something that's going to have to be shored up quite a bit by Blinn College in map number 2 if they want to resolve this series to their favor, Phil, because if you're getting it, you know, I'm going to highlight one fight in particular, and apologies to College Lone, who it may see if I'm isolating here, but unfortunately,
You bully.
it's the most obvious iteration of it. It did happen other times. This just happened to be the most obvious of it, where the coalescence was committed after the self-destruct had already been used, rather than, and had already gotten 2 eliminations on top of that. So that is the sort of gameplay you're going to need to find, you know, resources to save in some of these engagements that you're winning if you want a chance later down the series. And that's something I'm going to watch for Blinn College specifically to see if they can kind of resolve in their future map.
Yeah, and one thing to consider here, of course, this is Control. It is historically the most chaotic game mode. It's the one where this initial winning fight sets up a lot for what your capture progress is going to be. It's not the be-all and end-all of your ability. We know from the history of Overwatch League that if you can be good at a couple of map types, you don't have to be good at all of them. You can win out a series on the back of that. So as we move over into our hybrid map, which will be Hollywood, we get to see whether Blinn College maybe have some other bullets in the chamber.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. Obviously, we saw 2 compositions primarily from both teams, right? Obviously, that sort of rush-esque comp from both quads on Control Center, and then it kind of morphed into this hybrid dive yet again on Night Market, where we saw the Winston Diva from Blinn, we saw, you know, the Wrecking Ball Winston from BSC. So I will say this about BSC specifically: the most accepted compositions, not one they're going to run very frequently. We're going to see, especially from Narwhal, I think, you know, a little bit of those off-color picks, if you will. We saw the Junkrat, which is very strong on, you know, Control Center, perhaps not the most accepted pick, but certainly very high up there. And then, you know, hovering over to the Torbjorn when things went a little bit south in round number 2. So keep an eye out on Narwhal as we head further into series, because definitely going to be a trendsetter, if you will, for the squad.
Yeah, and if it's the kind of player, if Noel is the kind of player that they have to base their team comps around, that can be both a positive and a negative, depending on how good they happen to be on those particular heroes. But notice they are currently hovering over the Ashe, which is a little more of a traditional pick, gives you a lot more utility here. And now even over onto the Cassidy. So clearly fairly comfortable here with the hit scan roll as well.
A lot of flexibility. I mean, they still have the offensive end of it, so there's still time for them to change their mind. Blinn College, on the other hand, not a lot of surprises here, considering the high ground that is required over both the entry choke point and cafe on point A. Can definitely slow down the game quite a bit with this double shield, and obviously a lot of damage throughput from both the hit scan and the projectile DPS.
Well, you're taking a lot of damage on the way.
Yep, and I mean that's that DPS for you, right? Big accretion as well is going to stun both Miro and Narwhal. They're going to have to retreat until they get healed up.
Yeah, so nice start here from Blinn College. Certainly some of the way to some ultimates here for them. Guts being the one to look out for here in particular. Waiting for the dive to come in here from Bryant-Stratton College, but a little bit slow off the ground.
Oh, and there it is. Narwhal goes over to the Junkrat too.
Yeah.
So Slater gets delayed as the reset or as the elimination comes in from the body shot there. I think assisted perhaps by a whip shot too. Either that or a shield bash from Omen Kai. As Bryant-Stratton just wait for the respawns to come in. They do have the nano boost, so eyes on Miro.
Yeah, and the other thing is, of course, they're more than halfway towards the Dragon Blade. They could just be setting up for that. No, we're going to get the Nana here, mostly, I think, just to keep Miro alive here. Doesn't have to jump to engage instead. Into the background to see what kills they can try and find. Puts them into the 5v6 straight away, but now they no longer have that engaged. And yet, they're still finding some progress here. Blinn College, slow to disengage, slow to get down and contest. They've already given away half of the point, and Blinn College now finally opting in, maybe a little late to this fight. Crazy Hobo takes a world of damage, and the anti-air, and they can't survive through that. This has been very dynamic from Bryant-Stratton College. Once they are in and ready to commit resources, they're actually going to be coming out of this with the Dragon Blade and most of a Riptire to play with.
Man, Miro just living up to the namesake there with the Winston play. Some very nice primal mechanics from Bryant-Stratton's tank player there too. And I mean, yeah, the nano boost you saw, that was a good whip shot yet again from Omen Kai, making sure that Winston can't keep the high ground, but the support isn't there. And Omen Kai dies yet again, as it's Bryant-Stratton just taking a lot of space forward.
It is traded out. They're going to lose Mira here, but they actually have this very good initiation tool in the form of the Dragon Blade should they need it. But right now, well, I mean, that's stylish, I guess. We just catch the tail end of that self-destruct. Nobody is pressuring Cart at the minute. This is free push for Bryant-Stratton College. Blinn College just giving them the space, and they're going to have Miro back in this fight momentarily.
That's the it is. Here's the Dragon Blade coming in a moment, too.
Doesn't even need it for now. Miro dies again. They might want to start thinking about investing into this, but for now they're still making neutral fight progress without committing anything, and they flushed out the Supercharger and the Flux here from Blinn College.
I will say the one perhaps saving grace for the defense here is they've kind of commanded the high ground, so it's going to be Bryant-Stratton having to aggress on to them, and exactly as they do that, OBL gets demeched, and it's set forced to use the rally as well, and still does not get a ton of value for it.
And I was going to say, at this point, we've been holding on to these ults for a long old time, but it's maturing like fine wine here, Lafon. Slater with 2, then finds the 3rd. We've got the Dragon out for Turtles, but there's nowhere left for Crazy Hobo to dodge, and it's good progress here for Bryant-Stratton.
Amusingly, that Riptire was, while they were in the animation, the Dragon Strike catches the Junkrat, standing still, so that's one elimination. I don't know that Guts can necessarily contest the objective, so this card should just roll in.
Okay, Omen Kai coming back in with the rally. Buys Blinn College a little more sustainability here. Mirror forced into the Primal Rage. And like the world's biggest, hairiest broom, it's time to sweep everybody off the cart here. Miro, found a kill yet. Has finally got Omen Kai, and that's going to be Brigitte for Brigitte off the table. Bryant-Stratton College finding kills. But Blinn doing a lot to keep themselves in this and burn time off. That is all they're going to manage at this point. The kills come through the sheer explosive power potential of Narwhal putting paid.
Yeah, both supports were eliminated from both squads, so all 4 healers down. Unfortunately, Bryant-Stratton just keep a couple more of their members alive otherwise, and Narwhal's going to find an isolated Guts and forces the recall early yet again. Guts taking so much damage in the entry part too. This time they don't have the get out of jail free card.
It's aggressive posturing here from Bryant-Stratton College, burning up resources and time. stopping Blinn College getting into the contest and building up some resources. So another self-destruct on the table here for OBL, DPS, and support ults. Not all that far behind it. Narwhal has the Riptide, but the dive is in the back. We're gonna go for it anyway, but it is immediately focused down by Crazy Hobo. They have brought a bit of attention, and that can be the difference maker here. So people can come through. Ed's College Lone, Coalescence, looking for someone to throw this that might do some damage. Keep the team alive through it, forced to use the fade, and a lot of damage still coming their way. Slater with the Dragon Blade online, but it's Narwhal again that finds the 2K. Both supports on the table, and the dive is still going on from Bryant-Stratton.
That being said, Guts gets one with the Pulse Bomb, and Turtles has an EMP available, so this might be a case of an over-aggression by BSC. That being said, I mean, Turtles forced to recall, and the translocator is found out, so no EMP at the ready.
Should just about get a chance to put it to use, unless, of course, this Dragon Blade finds its intended purpose. That's going to be College low down, self-destruct out from Crazy Hobo, needs to find something, anything. It finds nothing, and the kills come through here from Bryant-Stratton College. Guts doing what they can to keep this alive, but we see Ginger's body even flying all over the place as the ragdoll kicks in, and that is a good time bank here for Bryant-Stratton.
228 is the final scoreline for this first round for BSC, and now that means Blinn College needs to not just complete the map, they need to complete it with time remaining, elsewise they will not get any further progress. And I mean, BSC, with the early lead in the series, continue their dominant performance on the attacking half, as Blinn College never really truly got a reset available to them on their defensive side. And Phil, I mean, there was that one moment in the in the middle of the second point, the second phase of Hollywood, where BSC was stymied slightly, but overall, I mean, this has just been all Bryant-Stratton in this second map.
And here's the slightly damning thing here for Blinn College. They started out on a comp that you could maybe only tweak ever so slightly to make it less dive friendly. We had the Sigma, we had the Orisa, there was a Brig. I think maybe you add the Cassidy in there, and that is probably the most stun you can manage. And the dive still broke that double shield defensive bunker. And that says a lot to me about the relative strength, because if you can't beat the dive on that composition, where do you go from there?
And I think the other thing, too, to highlight that point is that the double shield actually started off doing its job correctly. I mean, I highlighted Omen Kai, but uses they use the whip shot to knock the Winston off the high ground. The nano boost should have gotten no value. Instead, Bryant-Stratton are able to recover a broken fight to give themselves that first point. So, Blinn College, their initial entry is good. Their follow-up is not so much. And that's going to have to be fixed up post-haste if they want to get this series in their favor.
Okay, we're clearly having some thoughts here for Blinn College. Turtles back in spawn last we checked. Let's get the turret found out. Nice, a little less additional splash damage for them to deal with. Now Turtles looking for an entry here. Needs to be careful about dodging all of the various things coming their way to uncloak them. Needs to get in with a big hack here on the left-hand side. For now, we're seeing the rotation come through for Bryant-Stratton College. Turtles finally unveils himself, and that's up on the high ground. Ow! Speaking about up on the high ground, there's Slater with a headshot, taking Guts right out of this one with the Widowmaker. Forced off the high ground for now, but lands a beautiful eye. That's got to be it. Done. Turret getting in on the action. Blinn College back to 4.
I mean, the actual analytical point there is that Bryant-Stratton delayed that fight, did not allow the dive to be staged, but sometimes the fight can really boil down to a Widowmaker gets nice clean headshot, fight over.
So
combination of A, combination
of B.
as
click heads, right? That's how you win the game. You click the head harder than the other.
I mean, Slater, in their back pocket, they have a phenomenal Tracer, and obviously we're seeing a very critical Widowmaker as well. Pun definitely intended, as the wall hacks will have to be reduced. They'll have to wait it out so that Turtles does not fall over the second they walk in, but it's Open Kai instead!
Yeah, boy, you cannot afford to give a pixels with the space over to Slater, because they will take your head off at the shoulder, and Turtles is struggling here to generate this all-important EMP that they need to win this fight out. And self-destruct in over the top for OBL. Somehow finds College Lone? And without that bulk healing available to Blinn College, Bryant-Stratton can afford to start pressing the advantage and developing a fine crease in the middle of the team fight. Crucially, though, Turtles has got in and taken Slater out of the fight. It's a big opening here for Blinn College.
That being said, Miro actually spotted Turtles on the re-entry. There was as they were recloaking, and because Slater did not walk away, completely without dealing damage to the Sombra, that's actually a fight that's gonna be ended. Turtles gets taken out at the very tail end of it.
You're looking for some sort of big combo here for Blinn College with the EMP, whether that is just sheer body pressure on the point over the top of hacked members. Maybe that's going to be enough here, but they've got to move quickly. We're down at 90 seconds. Rally out from Set. Injustice with the Nano Boost as well. Reserve will have the self-destruct here, but is trying to take care of Set. In the meantime, Turtles gets to the back and takes out of Narwhal. College Lone with another Coalescence here, looking for something, anything with that one. We are seeing kills start to come through here from Blinn College, but Bryant-Stratton answering back just as quickly, just as cleanly, and the Primal Rage from Ginger wasn't enough here.
No way, Slater. No way.
That's ridiculous. Playing in such an aggressive position here, Slater is giving them no respect whatsoever, knows that they can hit these shots 9 times out of 10. And now we're down below the 1-minute marker here for Blinn College.
The other thing to highlight there is that Set and Miro just said, you know what, our backline, we don't care that you're going to die. We're going to win the fight instead. And Set made sure to give the rally armor over to Slater. So even as Jinja tried to dive the Widow, they were able to stand tall for those headshots, which they made the most of. Now, in the last 30 seconds, they're trying for a desperate attempt, Blinn College, but they may not have any resources to actually take this objective.
No, Omenkai needs to get this ultimate online ASAP, and they've got to win an aggressive push on the back of it that will come through. Crucially, that didn't connect to Ginger, and Ginger is right down at critical HP and can't get healed up. Slater lands another headshot, and Narwhal is all eyes on the turret. Hammer of the ready to keep his darling baby and check it over. Yay, Slater! Just destroyed Gut for the headshot. No tick gain here for Blinn College, and this is match point here. Bryant-Stratton looking super good right now, LaFon.
Oh my goodness, yes they are. And I mean, Bryant-Stratton, it's so easy to point at Slater and say, that's the carry, that's the player that did all the work, but look at how many resources the rest of the squad gave to the hitscan player. Slater was going to get the highlight on Genji, but my lord, the team really revolved around Widowmaker in the very end of that. Well, they should, because what a fantastic final round that was for the hitscan.
It's a very rare DPS player that can put on this kind of performance on both the Genji and the Widowmaker, 2 very disparate skill sets, and Slater looked hot as heck on both of them. But this is match point, LaFon. We need to start to see something here from Blinn College if we want to get a series and not just a 3-0 match.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, the days of Overwatch, the 03 watch is still perhaps alive and well, yeah. At least if BSC has anything to say about it. We said at the top of the show that there were, a couple of teams that were kind of in the hunt for this grand finals position, but BSC making full presence known that they should be considered the favorite as well. They were, and as you said, match point now for BSC, and they have not made it look even a little bit difficult. Again, they have not given a single, they've given over 2 maps, a total of 80 percentage points over 2 maps. That's absolutely wild.
Yeah, it's a statement. It's a statement in the same way that slamming a book closed on someone's finger is a statement. Completely locked out. And you've got to be a little careful as a broadcaster to not lean so heavily into oh my God, this team is doing so badly. But we need to see, I think, a little more adaptation and a little more focus out from Blinn is really the point I want to get at here. That to get to this point with the win record that they've got, they are clearly a team that knows what it is they should be doing and what they're supposed to be doing. But at the minute, it just seems like they're not all quite on the same page together. We've seen a couple of pushes where we lose people in the middle of the fight and we still see the push go through. Despite not being able to win a fight typically in a 5v6 situation.
Well, they have a map that they have the hard mode version to accomplish this goal on next, Phil, because they are going to Temple of Anubis as our assault map. And boy, if there's a place you do not want to be out of sorts or out of sync with your squad, it is in fact assault. And at Temple of Anubis is probably key amongst them in the remaining map pool. So I gotta say, crash course. This is where you get your last chance to try and finalize things, because again, BSC staring down the face of victory here, and it really truly is in their hands at this point.
Yeah, so we are about ready to go into map. Worth noting here that the format for this has been loser's map choice, so this is Blinn College's map pick, which means we'll see BSC opting as to whether they want to go on offense or defense, which could really set the pace for how long we can expect to be in Temple of Anubis. But yeah, with their map pick in mind, you've got to think, given what we've seen from them already, we might see a little bit more of this defensive style out of them. And in fact, that's exactly what we're going for here with Blinn starting on the defense. Double shield, Torb. We've got a lot to disrupt the dive coming in here.
It's going to be a lot, Blinn College, we're seeing, as you said, a lot to stymie a dive, but you might have all the tools you need. Now it's about using those tools in the correct order, the correct way, right? And we'll see if that actually comes to play. Bryant-Stratton, at least temporarily, looking to be a little bit more non-standard with their composition.
It's a little bit mystery heroes, isn't it, Lafon?
A little bit odd. Oh god, it's so weird seeing the Doomfist in the DPS role right now.
It really is. Honest. Yeah.
Jinja taking so much damage, by the way.
Yeah, it's not a great start. That Obelisk squad from Set really doing a lot of work here. I don't really know what it is Bryant-Stratton's comp is supposed to achieve, other than, I guess, frags. Slater in, and that's that anti-dive potential we were talking about. Slater with a lot of damage, but the rest of Bryant-Stratton making a successful rotation. They will have the high ground, and Slater will, of course, be back relatively quickly, and this time, back on the Widowmaker here to click some pixels.
Yeah, the Doomfist was not very effective, and I mean, so far, not many of the selections that Bryant-Stratton have made have been very effective. And Slater, uncharacteristically misses 3 shots in a row. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and Turtles is down here. The race for Injustice is incredibly important. Ooh. Miro lands the rock and rolls them. Bryant-Stratton College just shimmy their way onto point. 2 fights in, they're done, and it's on to point B. Crucially here with ultimates.
Yeah, it's a bit of a surprise fight from Bryant-Stratton, and Blinn College fall to it too, right? This is not a comp that you would necessarily say is a rush composition, but it deals a lot of damage, and Blinn College try and face check it, which unfortunately for them is not the correct play. They're going to have both the Riptire and the Gravitic Flux in tow, as BSC looks to try and just shut this round out right away.
It takes a lot of damage on the way through, but that's a slow rather than a stop here. Flux comes through, only connects with 1, and the Immortality Field helps them survive through that. They're down 2. You see nothing out of that Riptide, but I just don't think they need it. Who was there even left to kill at this point? It's just going to be Turtles, who dies in the middle of getting the Molten Core online. Team kill. Good luck with getting the contest going, because it's body block central. Crazy Hobo does get on, but the Orbital Discord sends them right back into spawn. And Miro, the one-man wall here on the left-hand side. Nearly 5 minutes in the time bank here for Bryant-Stratton.
And Blinn College, oh boy. I mean, you have to just completely ignore the time bank at this point, right? Because Bryant-Stratton College, they are on match point. They have 4 minutes 54 to deal with, and Blinn College have to worry about just capturing 2 points in succession, something they have not been able to do so far in the series.
No, and whilst we were talking about their flexibility and the relative smarts of running a double shield setup into a dive, we've now seen 2 maps in a row that double shield setup hasn't worked for the kind and the type of comps that Bryant-Stratton College are running, even when the kind and type is just, I don't know, play whatever you feel like. And staring down the barrel of this particular end of series gun for Blinn College. Where do you go from here? What are your options comp-wise?
Whatever you've practiced, right? Don't throw away scrims at this stage of the game. You've made it to the grand finals based on your selections, so don't give it up. Just try and buckle down and focus on what your strengths are, right? Don't worry about your opponent, because at this point, it's not about your opponent. It's about what you can bring to the table. And I have to highlight, for BSC, I'm not so sure the composition they were running wasn't something that they ran, in prior games. So clearly, they're willing to showcase a little bit of flexibility, a little bit of off-meta stuff, because they know they have the manpower to, the player selection to be able to execute on those styles just as well. And so for Blinn College, not panicking is probably the first start.
Nice big power drive initiation there for OBL. Does receive the hack, and a heck of a lot of damage, and that is OBL out of this. They will take College Lone out. This has been a nice defense in the opening stages here from Blinn College. Can they keep this going, though? They are finding picks. OBL coming back on the Roadhog here, and Ginger looking for this final frag to try and take Mira out of this, but receives a lot of damage and has to retreat. One in the back also taking damage. Ginger takes him out of this one. And Blinn College actually looking like they've got a momentary toehold here, but as the hack comes through onto Slater, and they survive it with the force bomb ready to go, and the team cooped up in a small room. We thought that was going to be a big but it doesn't connect. The speed at which it was generated, though, says a lot about Slater here. Forced to recall in. Very scrappy fight here, LaFon.
Yeah, Jinja is doing their best to keep this one in contention. Jinja has been a solo wrecking ball of a player on this tank, assisted by the Moira, and Jinja is not letting this point go.
No, this is a stellar performance here from Jinja. They've already got 1 point under their belt here, and this is looking to be as good a capture time as Bryant-Stratton managed on their offense. I don't know if they'll like to commit too much more to keeping this contested, or if they just go into point behold here, but this has looked very good and very practical in college.
I mean, Jinja just isolated individual fights and made that look stylish. What a performance from the main tank player in that first point. Jinja is the hero of point A of this map. Between the two teams, that was the most excellent play I've seen on that Winston from that point A. So well played by Jinja, and that's actually going to give a lot of progress over the possibility for Blinn College to turn this into a snowball. But with the EMP available, all they have to do is kind of dodge this Coalescence, Riptire, and Gravitic Flux.
Easier said than done. A little bit slow off the mark here, and Miro finds the opening frag. Crazy Hobo out of mech and out of luck. Out comes the Flux from Miro. Comes down, as does Omen Kai, and then we're in among it, throwing haymakers here at the fate of this team fight. And now, Blinn College looking at the worst time bank, regardless of how this next fight goes.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Turtles also not going to be able to unstealth on the objective to try and sneak anyone back, because the team is dead, and BSC are going to make their retreat to the point. I mean, Jinja, stepped up in a big way. That's the second primal rage of the attacker half, by the way, for this Winston now. But you'll have to get past this Riptire.
EMP out as well, and that will hit 3, but we trade out very quickly here, and we trade out in a fairly comprehensive way from Bryant-Stratton. Lost them a couple of ults, but you come out with another minute off. Time bank and the potential to stagger the pilot fort. Nope, no stagger, straight with a hook to the face, and down they go.
That was the best look that Blinn College is going to likely have all point. With the resources they had to them. Now it's going to be all about trying to get as explosive as they can, considering BSC does not have those impact resources, right? The pulse bombs, the coalescences. They're going to have to try and just win this one out, but Guts gets a hook.
Boy, that's got to be frustrating. The stealth Roadhog, the biggest character on the field, hidden and hooking you from the sidelines. Good attempt here from Ginger, does buy some space, forces people back to the point. Primal Rage out of them though, and Crazy Hobo finds an opening frag. That's Injustice out of the fight for now. OBL finds the D-Mech, has the whole hog. Doesn't want to pop it just yet, is at relatively low HP for that Roadhog.
What?
And in point of fact, that's it, they've won this one. The main tank is down, and the support is down too. Omukai even committed the sound barrier into what is just not enough for Blinn College. It seems like no matter what they throw at this stuff on, it's never quite enough.
No, it feels like BSC has a response, and that response is oftentimes just one utility, like the hook there from OBL. And Blinn College not making any changes over either, so those were resources they just won't have available to them. Now down to 245. OBL hiding on the flank yet again. There's no way the Roadhog gets a second hook, right? Surely not.
And again, it has got found out this time. The dive wasn't actually all that successful, and what a self-destruct from Mira. That's the 3k, the fight done and dusted just as quick as you'd like. OBL takes a bit of damage, but will survive through. Very good.
Yeah, just a clean fight. That was a one self-destruct found.
Huh?
Yeah. Oh, they found the. Oh, please help me, Turtle's not gonna take that translocator back. Please don't do it.
Out for Narwhal. That's going to be right at the spawn doors here. Turtles actually finds them, but Translocator's not going to be enough, and the Riptire is still on the hunt, possessed, as it were, with the spirit of its former owner. And it's time, LaFon. It's time for Bryant-Stratton College to lick the spawn doors here. Out comes the whole hog, as well as the sound barrier here from Bryant-Stratton. Really, you've got to hope the Turtles can get into the back and start getting some free cap progress here, but it's not going to happen. They are down and out, and, well, we're back at point A, LaFon.
And BSC are not inclined to leave, I don't think. They certainly want to make their home here in this first objective. There's Narwhalsey on the flank. I mean, they've got the pulse bomb. Slater's just eyeing the height, drops it down. Oh, Guts is actually the one that gets the pulse bomb denied too.
Okay, Crazy Hobo finds a pick. EMP's out. We see 2 picks come through for Blinn College. But
Slater.
And again, just Slater. It's just Slater thinks he all finds the 3K. Yeah, they're going to fall to Crazy Hobo, but the damage has been done. Ninja trying to go back, trying to get it back. Cap almost gets that 1/3 of a tick, but it's not enough. Down they go. And it's 60 seconds and counting for Blinn College.
And I mean, at this point, A, it would be a miracle if they captured. B, it seems likely impossible to get time on the clock either. But this is looking like BSC at the very worst playing for a draw. Recall, their time bank is 454 here, Phil.
Okay, well, it's Ginger coming in with a Primal Rage. That looks to me like a Primal Rage for the fun of it. It wasn't particularly close to engagement, but does somehow find the juggle onto Injustice. But now that's done and dusted. About the time you're at the point, guess what? Injustice is going to be back as well. Self-destruct out. Barrier just fades, but everyone from Bryant-Stratton makes themselves scarce. We are seeing the fight start to move over towards the point, and Bryant-Stratton College might have gotten a little bit too cocky on this one as the kills are starting to come through from Blinn College. Of course, I say that, Slater's alive and in the back and causing trouble. Beautiful predict, beautiful stick, and down goes Guts, and we're down into OT time here with Bryant-Stratton College. Massive numbers, presence, positioning, and compositional advantage. Ginger desperately looking for that final little bit of charge for Primal. It's just not going to happen. Crazy Hobo back on the wrecking ball, all hiding to nothing. A valiant effort here from Blinn College, throwing what they have against the doors of Fortress Bryant-Stratton College. Sound barrier out, coalescence out, Slater closing in on another pulse bomb here. Finds the pick, isn't going to need the ult, and a valiant pushback here in the final seconds from Blinn College, but Bryant-Stratton come out on top as your NJCAA Overwatch champions.
What a showcase there from Bryant-Stratton too. We'll get the highlight here from Miro, but what a spectacular... That's right after Resurrect, by the way. Yeah. We're just going to isolate everyone in that small room, and yeah, those hyperspheres do so much damage.
Sometimes it's easy to forget. You look at them, you just think, oh, that's a nice, cool little science toy you've got. But, I wouldn't want to be hit by either of those. But
no.
Regardless, a great performance. Actually, a great performance from pretty much all of the tanks in this final map. Thinking back to the Primal Rages we've seen, particularly from Ginger on that point A cap, I think is a real highlight for this team and something they should be proud of. Ultimately, BSC just seemed like the more practiced team overall.
And I mean, you know, sometimes you got to have yourself a Slater when it comes to the DPS faction, right? Because there was fights that Slater just straight up won for BSC, right? I think that obviously on the Tracer, the Widowmaker, and, you know, sometimes when you run up a player that's that good, they'll just win you fights outright, and BSC make the most of them as they take the victory here. A clean 3-0, dropping only 1 point in the entirety of it. So, very, very dominant performance from Bryant-Stratton College is to take, again, the 3-0 victory over Blinn.
And that does bring us, Lafon, very nearly to the end of this particular broadcast. But to round things out, we're going to go speak to a player from our winning team. And whilst we get that lined up, we're going to throw it to a little break. We'll see you in a couple of minutes. Welcome back, everybody. We warned you we'd be back, and here we are. And to join us for the interview portion of this broadcast is Injustice from our winning team, Bryant-Stratton College. Injustice, welcome. How are you feeling on the back of that win?
It feels pretty good. It's like we're the first team to win it back-to-back, so it feels pretty good to win it again.
Yeah, I mean,
I could imagine.
Yeah, not only did you guys win back-to-back, I mean, this series was particularly dominant from you guys as, I mean, not only a 3-0, but you only give up 1 point during the entirety of it. So just walk me through BSC. Like, what's the kind of game plan coming to the game today?
Usually, we try to stick for one comp, which is sometimes, we try to dive, but there's some maps you can't dive, so we run rush. But usually, Slater tells us what to do, and most of the times he's a shot caller.
Okay, interesting that we have a shot caller from the DPS position, but with the amount of work Slater was getting done, maybe you can't argue with that. So actually, to deviate a little bit from the match that just happened, I assume you got into the beta. How is it feeling moving from the beta into higher level competitive Overwatch 1? Oh.
so I can't judge from it. But it feels sometimes like most of the times they're like free for all, because like there'll be like sometimes 2 or 3 fights going on instead of one fight. But it's only I don't really know. Like I can't really judge about it.
Fair enough. A little bit too early to tell. Well,
Yeah.
Injustice, we're going to let you get on your way and celebrate with your team. Before we let you go, anybody you'd like to give a thank to or give a shout
Um,
out?
yeah, I would like to give a shout out to our coach Kaldad. He always helps us through everything in game and outside the game. And of course, special shout out to all of my team. They always help me to become a better player. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Injustice, thank you again for joining us and enjoy the win. I'm sure you will for at least a few days to come. For everybody
Yeah.
else, that's unfortunately going to be the end of our broadcast here today, but I hope you've enjoyed watching this as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. So, from myself and from LaFon and from everybody else here at the NJCAAC broadcast team, that's going to be good night from us, and we'll hopefully see you at some point in the not too distant future.